Hello, everybody, and a warm welcome to Viewpoint. It's a program that delves into the secrets of people to give us all some valuable nuggets of wisdom, and particularly wisdom that is going to be applicable to entrepreneurs. It's good to have you with us. My name is Jeremy Maggs, and today our topic is recovery after failure. Daunting words, those, recovery after failure. I would suggest that it is one of the most difficult things for any entrepreneur to do, to start something that you love, see it fail either holistically or in some small respects, and then have to start all over again. And it's difficult for entrepreneurs to come to grips with that particular issue. Well, I'm hoping that we can give you some valuable insight today in terms of how to recover and how to pivot when you have to make dramatic change. And I'm very, very proud and honored and privileged to be talking to a real South African hero, Olympic gold medalist, Sizwe Ndlovu. And what better, I would suggest, for an Olympian to share with us all that necessary and vital mental and emotional tools that are required to overcome failure, to change direction, and to start navigating on a new path to success. Sizwe, a very warm welcome to you, and I want to start with this, if we can, the road that you followed, in your case, the waters that you rode to become an Olympic champion. How was it?
Thank you so much for the welcoming. It all started obviously at school in 1996 when I went to the high school in the south of Johannesburg, and I was introduced to the sport by my late headmaster Tom Price. From there, the road was just started off smooth, obviously, as an enjoyment, and it became a hobby. It was a hobby, then it became enjoyment, and then later on I found myself on the road to Olympics.
You're very modest, because not only were you on the road to the Olympics, but also it culminated in winning a gold medal. In that journey, on that path, what were some of the difficulties that you encountered?
I think at that time the challenge was for me in the beginning was, obviously rowing was known as a white sport. It was to cut through that. So I remember when we started, we were 3 black athletes or person of color. And before the end of that season, I was the only one left. So I had people asking me, why are you doing this stupid sport? You know, everyone goes forward and then you guys go backwards. It doesn't pay. So you had negative from people or from friends, from even family. Like when you, obviously with black people not liking water so much. So family was like, stop doing this sport. And that was my mother, because she was afraid of water. So I continued. It was, as I said, it became a passion of mine. And it's something that I wanted to overcome the fear of water.
So you're dealing with criticism, you're dealing with adversity, you're dealing with a fear of water, as you've just said. How did you have to dig deep in order to overcome that?
I've had to capsize a couple of times in the water to get that confidence going. So there were a lot of failures through that. One was go back to the start. Obviously, as I said, learn to swim first, and then you got to go in the boat. In the boat, you look at the water, it was just minky, and you know, like you wonder how people stay in this type of water. But I had to fall a couple of times, and from then onwards, I wasn't afraid to capsize. And before I could move into the bigger boat, because you get sculls, doubles, pairs, and 2 4s and 8s. Before you move up, it was a rule that you'll start in a small boat first. So that confidence, and that brought more confidence.
So every time you capsized or you fell into the water, obviously that made you a stronger person. And those lessons are important, not only for a sports person, but for an entrepreneur as well. Don't be afraid of failure.
True. So you embrace it. So we basically used failure. Even the races that I've raced prior to Olympics, we only won as a crew one race. It was 2 months before Olympics. Before then, we were coming 13th, 14th. And that, for us, it was just embrace. We were learning every time and started to do more homework from other crews or other countries that are around us that we raced. And
so again, the lesson that I'm learning here for an entrepreneur is keep at it, don't be afraid of the mistakes, and every single mistake that you make is actually a good thing because there's a lesson that you've learned from it. But having said that, in that journey, there must have been times, Sizwe, when you thought to yourself, I want to quit. I've had enough. I've fallen into the water too many times.
Yeah. Yes, there were a lot of times. I think, in fact, it was even within the crew itself. Besides the falling of the water, it was then coming to the culture in the squad itself. We had 4 guys. We had the coach. We had assistant coach. We had the physio. We had the psychologist, and everyone were in different page. And coming from where, when I started riding in the beginning of the career, I was a student. I was working to put food on the table. Now we're racing guys, countries that were doing this for their lives, and we're getting paid for this. So coming to that, there was this inclusion, this cultural fighting this change. For example, as a stroke in the boat, I had a certain way of doing my things in the boat, and then you had John behind me who believed this is how it's done. And then you had Matt who thought black people were useless, lazy, can't row, he knows nothing. Then you had James who, this is how we're going to do, because he was the person calling the boat. This is how we're going to think, this is how we do it. So with the change, where the change went, we went to changing of the culture, where we went, which was done by our coach, Roger, who then had taken over after the previous coaches left. And we had to work on the culture change.
How difficult was that?
It was tough. I remember in the days, it was tough that it took a lot of time, obviously, to change the beliefs of people, but having to sit down around the table that we had to discuss those things. It was little things, as you said, like how I chew, how I eat. And it made it difficult because we were all lightweight, so you were dieting at the same time. You need to be on weight for the race. So if your crewmate was eating a chocolate, you'll get upset,
Little things
like that. Or if one is drinking Coke, like, why are you drinking that? We're weighing in on the weekend. So there wasn't this trust. Obviously, with changing the culture, it came to give trust and the trust. So if I'm drinking Coke, it was fine. He knows what he's doing. He will be on weight. And going back to say the training, daily training as well, you have to believe that Matthew is going to bring his A game tomorrow. So when I'm training today, I finish my session at 5 o'clock, I go home, I eat, I sleep. Matt is not going out to watch a movie, or he's not going out to arriving in the session tomorrow, tired, not bringing his A game. So it was those little things. It was the food, it was how we did things. And it all had to come into, we all have to compromise. This is how you're going to do it.
I was waiting for you to use the word compromise, because critical in building a culture that you all buy into is going to be that notion of compromise. But difficult to reach that point, isn't it?
True. You've got to deal with the reality and how things are doing, and you need to then come to get into compromise. And not all of us liked what we had to do, but it was a way to Olympic medal. It was our road to London.
And was that the goal always? Because I think anybody, again, whether it's in sport or if you are an entrepreneur, you've got to be driven by a single-minded, purposeful goal. That goal then was the road to London. And was that the lodestar that kept you focused when there were these moments of either failure or frustration? You were always focusing on one thing.
Yeah. So our focus, obviously entrepreneur, you have to know what you want. We knew what we wanted was the goal in London 2012. And all the other little things around it, we need to work together and communicate. Communication was important for us. As I said, it was communication, the trust, compromising so that we are all on the same road, on the same mind. We are all bringing our A game into the boat. What am I doing to make this boat go faster?
How difficult, when there were small moments of failure, was it to recover? Because I'm assuming there were. No, it's not, to use another sport, not all smooth sailing. Shouldn't say that to a rower, but you know what I mean.
No, it's okay. It was difficult because after rowing, you also had life. I had family. I mean, I'd say obviously 2007 I lost my dad. 2008 I lost my mother. I took a break out of rowing a year to come back to it. And at the time, it was just, I was done. I was finished with this. I had been rowing since 1997 to 2007.
You were tired?
I was, yes, because there weren't any returns to it. It was all the travel, trying to balance varsity, work, and rowing, and I had to take a break. And obviously, when I took a break, there were things. I had lots of time to myself to think, and at that time, I realized, no, this is not what I want to do. The goal was Olympics. Before the gold, it was Olympics, then they changed to gold. So I came back. I had to refresh, restart. How are we going to do that? How am I going to do this? So it was very difficult.
So how did you do it? How did you refresh? Because by refreshing also gave you another springboard to overcome failure.
I had to set a new goal. Yeah. I had lost the support structure that I had. It was first, obviously, the person who got me to rowing, who I was doing this. I mean, I was doing rowing let me go back to say, when I started, I obviously started coming from Malanga. I didn't know what rowing was. So when I got into it, I had this person who saw something in me that obviously no one else did. So for me, it was hard to quit. So when that person was gone, I was doing it for Tom Price. I was doing it for my parents. I needed to prove them right. So when they were gone, I had lots of difficulties. I had then Matthew and the coach, Roger Berry, who came through and said, listen, come back. We'll deal with this. We'll deal with this. So firstly, it was obviously income. That was the issue. So, okay, fine. How much are you earning at your current work and studies? I said, this is how much I'm earning. He's like, okay, fine. Leave your work. Let's focus on rowing. I'll give you the same amount. And for me, I think there was a little bit of push. So from then onwards, I was like, okay, all the thing I have to do in life is to row, eat, sleep.
So there was a single-minded
There was
focus.
a single-minded, yes. I was now on a single-minded trip. Everything else stopped. Social life, going out, I mean, that's everyone else wants to do that. So there was nothing but just rowing. And it was tough because the family around, the friends, they went there.
That single-minded purpose then is so critical as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. Let's talk a little bit about the actual job that you're doing, because you're competing against other people who are just as good, better in some cases. How much time did you spend analyzing the opposition and getting to know what they were doing in order to give you that edge?
So it took probably over a year after we realized that what we were doing, we were doing less than what our competitors were doing. And obviously some were different, the countries were doing things differently. So what we did was do a lot of research on YouTube. So our coach at the time, Dustin Butler, on our off-water sessions, they would then go search, take all the past races from the past 5 years and analyze the Denmark. For example, Denmark was a top crew, and analyze what they do from the start to the finish. Like watch every World Championships. And we would sit then on the weekends, on a Saturday after training, a round table. This is what they do, this is what we're doing.
So you're looking for two things, I imagine. One is what's going to give you the competitive edge. But secondly, certainly from a country like Denmark, for instance, you would be learning from them as well. You can learn from the opposition, can't you?
True. So you can learn a lot from the opposition. I mean, they were doing things differently. They were almost similar to us. But their training session, for example, they were doing sprints the whole time. They would train once a day and it's gym. For us, it was 2 sessions a day, some days 3. And so the way they raced was completely different. It was to get in ahead of the crews and hold it till the finish. And so we tried it as well, and it never worked. So we then had to sit down, okay, analyze first 500, we're going to be out the picture, but keep your head in the boat. Don't let them go too far, just keep the contact. Second 500, which takes you to the 1,000, you now got to do this. So having that information, it helped us to start beating those. Although it was just 2 months before then, which they were also surprised how we did it, which is the same way as we did it.
So the lesson I'm sensing here from Sizwe is any kind of opposition research that you can do is critical to your success, and it's something that you've got to keep on doing, I imagine. At some point, you decided to walk away. I know you're still involved in the sport in many different ways, but how hard was it for you to say, well, got the gold, done my time, I need to reinvent myself?
So it was tough. I mean, after 2012, I thought, okay, I want to do another one, which I tried, obviously, but then obviously, I say 3 years later, I had injuries. I looked at the age, I had an injury, and I looked at the age, I was like, okay, I've got to start living a life, you know. So it was tough, but the injury helped to drive me to where I am now, because when I was sitting, the opportunity created itself, where University of Johannesburg said, hey, can you come assist us, coach rowing? So for me, that was, okay, I'm still involved. I had not planned for something else of that, to be honest. So when the opportunity came, I took the chance, okay, let me keep myself busy while I'm injured. To recover, the plan was to take a year off, and then after Rio, I would then look at coming back. And it never happened like that. So I used what I used in my lessons from as an athlete, starting to use that in the office. I find that it worked. You know, you got to put what's a goal, and then start breaking the goal down. What's going to take to get to the goal.
And you've preempted my penultimate question by saying it's critical that you set yourself measurement goalposts the whole time. You can't you can't win if you're not measuring.
No, you'll be wheel spinning in the same place, which obviously that's what I found previously. So yeah, it still works today. Sometimes it doesn't work, and then obviously you've got to try different ideas. Yeah.
Final question to you. How often do you look at that gold medal, and when you look at it, what do you remember?
When I'm down. So this year I haven't looked at it. It's been a good year, to be honest. I think the last I looked at it was last year in November. And I looked at it because someone else wanted to see the medal. But when I'm down and I need some courage, some encouragement, I go and take. Well, now it's in my house. Previously, it was locked up in a safe.
Yeah.
You had to obviously pay for it, but I realized no, I'm in a safe environment. I can have it in the house. It's not up in the wall as well. You have to come in the house and find it.
I love the fact that you say when you're down, because it's something that gives you inspiration, because it's also a symbol of one of the greatest sporting achievements. And I say to you, Sizwe Ndlovu, you're a true South African hero. It has been my absolute honor and privilege to spend this time in your company. Good luck, and those lessons from your sporting success will be of great value, I know, to entrepreneurs. Good luck and thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.